Hello everyone. Today we're continue refine our composition, our flowers. We will add more details and work on them. From the middle of our session, we will start taking mold from our composition. So I recommend you have everything ready, like plaster mixing bowl, some water, soap, brush, these extra tools which we normally need for the mold. At the end, we will take out our mold and we will fill it with clay. We're coming to a stage when we will be making a mold for our composition. We need more plasticine as we will be building a wall 10 centimeters high around our composition. So we are putting more plasticine into our hot water. If it's not hot, just change it. It will be easier for you to work with plasticine when it's warm. As I said, knife in sculpture is essential. You always need to have one. So more plasticine goes into hot water. In a few minutes we will be cutting these bricks into walls and with which we will surround our tile, our sculpture. We need a pencil to draw a line around our composition. Our mold will be 5 centimeters wider from each of 4 sides. So we draw a line to build our 4 walls. So plus or minus, it will be place where we put this square wall. So I am taking this warm plasticine and cutting it. When it's warm, it's really easy. Okay. Normally it's also 1 centimeter thick. So from one block we got 4 pieces. You can use gloves. Personally, I don't like anything in between me and my materials, so I never use gloves, apart from cases when the water is really hot and it's just painful to go with bare hands. Otherwise, I always with no gloves. We're making sure there is no leak anywhere here. So each bit where plasticine join the board or pieces of plasticine join each other, we're filling all possible gaps, all joining points. And it must be pleasure, you know, sculpture is something in your fingers, and you like to squash this piece of plasticine, you like to squash your material, you are talking through your fingers to this material, you are merging with this material, you are becoming the one, and this one is creating from both sides, from your own side and from side of your material. You are creating your own baby. You are creating your new piece where you it's like the feeling like you are relaxing into an armchair, I don't know. It's just so comfortable to be with your material, to sculpt this material, to touch, to squash. And you always have this quality of perfection, your own perfection in real sculpture or in minimalism sculpture. Your own perfection when you are really satisfied with your result, and you feel like you did what you wanted, you did what you thought is the best. But it's less about thinking, but more about making. Specific technique in art, when it's completely not, in my understanding, intellectual, but very, again, real and physical. So, priority is to fill all gaps from inside. Outside, it doesn't matter, but if you want to make it stronger, you can add some plasticine from outside as well to make sure that it will stay solid and in one piece. We finished with this wall and we can move to the next stage. Our next stage, it's our piece of soap, some water and a brush. And we will cover our composition with a soap layer. So I will show you. It's important to keep the sense of perfection, because perfection will give you a sense of satisfaction. So next stage, we need to cover, as we did with our simple relief, single orchid. We are covering now our composition with this soap foam, which helps us to take out our mold later on. We do it with a brush. All done. And we are moving to the next stage. mixing plaster into the water. Welcome back into Eve Shepherd's studio. Today it's our last day of making a relief, and we want to get some tips from Eve regarding relief, sculpture, and being an artist in general.
Okay, well, relief. Okay, so relief sculpture. Not easy. Probably one of the hardest things to start on.
Really?
Yeah, I wouldn't, unless you're a really competent drawer. I know people that can draw really well or paint really well, and they can transfer quite well over to low relief. But if you're a 3D'er,
But we're making high relief.
easier. You don't have to think about the armature, but actually the translation between 2D and 3D is...
I found it's intriguing.
Yes,
And
it's
challenging.
intriguing.
Challenging.
Very challenging.
Yeah.
I find relief challenging because you're using illusion, which is something that you don't use really with sculpture. You're using sort of technical illusion of, playing around with depth of vision and foreshortening, which is something that you wouldn't do with sculpture normally. So that's relief work, very challenging. Good luck.
Let's ask Eve about her reliefs and how she's making them.
Okay, so for this relief behind us, which is probably the easiest to give an example on, I think of it in forms of planes. So flat planes, and so I'd start with the back form first and then work my way forward. So I'd sculpt in, I'd block in this. Imagine it was just a flat plane. I kind of think, how deep is she going to be? How deep do I want her? Then I'll block that in with clay, and then the next one, I'll block the next one in, and then the next one. So you end up with these almost flat sections, and then I might carve back into them. Or model them, but it's always with an eye of what's at the back, what's at the front.
But what do you mean by blocking first figures?
So I would rough out, I'd make a very rough form, this female form. I'd make it really roughly so that then I know that the depth then for the next figure starts in the right place, and then the depth for the next figure starts in the right place. If I start with the front, I might run out of space at the back, and this isn't made. I don't make a depth of clay with these pieces in order to cut back into, which is your low relief. I sculpt them straight onto wood, so there is nowhere to go. So if I run out of space, there's nowhere to go. So I have to start with the back. And work my
Do
way
you mean
forward.
you don't have a mold for this piece, so you were sculpting on a wood straight away?
Yeah.
So it's a unique piece, in other words. So we have now interesting thing, because it might be a unique piece as this one, or you might be creating for an edition and have mold as we do at our lessons.
Yeah. So this one does have a mold, but it has a silicone mold that was made after the piece was fired.
Yeah, I got it. Yeah.
So it's really important if you're going to do this kind of modelling, without having the flexibility of having clay behind this figure, say, to start with the back figure first and then work your way forward. Start with the thing furthest away from you first, and then work your way forward. Never the other way around, otherwise you'll run out of space.
And as I understood you have plenty of unique pieces. Why? Why you're not creating in molds straight away? Not creating pieces for an edition, so you love this uniqueness?
I do. I find that, I've developed over the years, because I've been a sculptor now for like 20-something years, and I've found that I have preferences with the way I work. I work very quickly, and I find that ideas come really fast. And so, in order to keep up with those ideas, I'll make unique pieces.
So we fill our mixing bowl. Now we're opening. I am opening my sack of plaster. So our bowl half full. So we need a pot, dry one, to fill it with a plaster. Not the other way around. It's a key thing. Water goes first. We're building a mounting, small mounting, to get the right proportion. So here we are, we have an iceberg, and we start mixing it. We always have some wipes around because it's not really clean. It will be spreading around with dust and splash. Each second, this liquid will be getting thicker and thicker. And we're crushing all crumbs inside to get nice consistency. To understand when you have to stop, you need to get double cream consistency. So now we have to pour it into our square wall. Actually, it's not deep enough. We can add always some more. Again, we are creating a mountain. Water goes first. We need to get thickness 2-3 centimeters above our leaf. So I feel it's not enough. Sometimes, while it's still not so thick, we put either wires or probably wooden blocks like that to make it stronger. Wooden sticks is good. So even simple cross to get it together.
There are many fine reliefs in ancient Rome, and the sarcophagus was one of the mediums that could show the trajectory from antiquity to the Middle Ages. Early Christian reliefs are nearly unidentifiable from pagan ones. Sometimes early Christian art would appropriate pagan imagery directly. At times, the poses of Jesus Christ are the same as Apollo, Dionysus, Mars, and so forth. At the bottom, in the center, there is a cross which might be seen as a symbol of Christianity, but it cannot be certain if this work belonged to a member of the Christian faith. Here, the myth of Selene and Endymion illustrates the complexity of a group portrait. A dramatic moment was captured. Symbolic images, animal figures, and humans are interwoven on the surface of the fine white marble. At the top, there are small reliefs of mini-stories and a bust. This format was frequently used to decorate Christian churches in later periods. In the 18th century, classical art developed into an alternative, exotic, and fashionable style called Rococo. Rococo literally means shell-like, due to its unique curvy form and fine detailed lines. It originated in the French court during the reign of Louis XIV and spread through nearly all the noble courts in Europe in the 17th century. Here, the Russian Winter Palace illustrates the influence of French noble culture. French art in Louis XIV's time divided into two factions, the Poussinesque and the Rubenesque. The former aligned with the classical style, while the latter was more contemporary, fashionable, and alternative. The Rococo style seeks inspiration from all kinds of foreign art, mostly chinoiserie, Chinese art, or Chinese-ish art. Rococo reliefs use much Oriental imagery, which was transformed into something new.
We need to make sure that we have no bubbles on our composition, because you remember we put some soap foam on it. So we kind of stroke all our relief with another brush to get rid of all possible bubbles. So we stroke our relief from all sides. So after that, you suck your brush, otherwise it will be completely ruined. And I use wooden sticks, you can use wires to make this mold stronger. Now it's good to make sure it's completely flat. We can always make it flat with a knife when it's completely dry. And you see, it dries. As soon as you think it's enough and it's flat enough, our next stage will be watching this mold. As it starts to get warm, it's drying. Also, with very important part in our job, it's cleaning. And different materials have different priorities. For example, for plaster, we don't want to ruin our sinks, so we don't need to wash it. We need to wait when all these masses on our hands, in our bowl, that's why we use rubber bowl for plaster rather than any other materials, because we always can crack it and get rid of it. So we're waiting here and here. Eventually, plaster which is on your hands and bowl will become solid, and you will crack it and get rid of it, not in a sink but into a normal rubbish bin. You see, inside it's still wet. It will take at least 1 hour, but it's quite unpredictable, so you need just to touch it, and when it's warm it's ready. Leave it for a while. So 20 minutes since, when I put my hand I feel how it's getting warm and at the same moment releasing all water which is inside, and my hand becoming slightly wet. You see these spots? So it's wetness from the mold. It's steam which we can't see, but it's coming out of the mold. You see these spots? It's wet. During next session, we will start learning about our head. We will be making a skull. We're making a skull as our preparation for a portrait. It's very essential learning process. You will try a different material, which will be clay. We won't be doing mold at all. Just learning, just sculpting in new materials such as clay.